Yay! So much going on this week, Linda, and energetically, everything. And we just don't have enough time to get through all of this today. It would be a marathon show. Um,
Mm.
but I tell you, there's something interesting happened this week because we
What's
work with energy and all this stuff. And Denise, who I do the table tipping sessions with, she's really become quite a channeler. This seems to have opened up her channeling ability rather than spirit
yeah,
communication. But
good.
and we was talking, and I said, she dropped me home last night, and she said it's warm up here because we're in the mountain,
Yeah.
and I said, yeah, I said it was reported as the warmest October since records began in Austria, and straight away she said, you know, maybe that's them upstairs helping us keep it warmer to offset these,
Climate
fraudulent
changes.
energy costs that
Of
they've.
course. Of
And
course
I
it is,
thought,
Mike.
wow,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I honestly do not know how the world is going to go electric cars when it takes 9 hours to charge one. And imagine if 9 hours every day of electricity, because you've got to charge your car
yeah.
virtually every day, you're skyrocketed electricity fees. Um, Funny thing, I was talking to a friend of mine, and her cousin is one of those property managers that works at a hotel, and the cousin, he owns like 15, 20 rooms in this hotel,
Right.
and he rang up the electricity place here in Australia and said, I need 15 charges at every room in my hotel.
Mm.
Do you know how much they wanted to charge him per charger?
Go on.
$25,000 per charger, and he needs 15 of the little suckers. But wait, there's more. They said you can't have them going because just his 15 charges would blow the electricity grid because it would go into overdrive. So imagine these, like our Brisbane city here, it's probably the same all over the world. You've got like, I'll say 15-story high, but some of them are a lot more than that. Some of them are 50 stories, these apartment buildings. Can you imagine that everyone's got a car parked down in the basement and they all need a charger for their phone, for
Yeah.
their car? How is the grids going to keep up with that demand?
Well, it can't, and that's the idea.
Because then people aren't driving. They don't want people driving.
Yeah,
If someone said to me today, oh, Linda, if you want, and the thing is, they're saying that these charges have to be, um, what is it? Not only secure, but they've got to be like inside of security,
yeah.
right? I've got a carport on my house. I don't have a garage where I can drive in. So where are they going to put the charger on my house? Huh. So do I now have to build a garage to put my charger in it?
Most
Because
probably
someone
there'd
else
be
is going to come
something
along and
like
steal
that.
it. Okay?
Yeah.
What did you say?
I said most likely it'll be something like that in order to get you to spend more money to send you broke, you know. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah,
but
so I can't see how it's going to work, Mike.
no,
Honestly to
I mean,
God.
I've noticed that a lot of people now are stepping out of this fear energy that has gripped them for two
Yeah.
years. As I get on
Yeah.
the bus, I see little old ladies and old men. Some of them, they got their mask on, but the nose, and of course that's pointless anyway. But some of them have got it down here, and some are not wearing them at all. It's still the majority are still wearing them, but now we're seeing, and particularly in this month of October and November, where a flu season. Remember the flu, where that comes in now.
Hang on. Hang on. I'm trying to remember. Is that some sort of alien invasion thing? Oh no, that's right. It's
It's
another
a
one of these
natural phenomena
bugs.
of the body to get rid
It's
of
a
toxins.
natural sickness. That's right. That's what the flu is. It's not like a UFO flew
No,
into my house.
no,
Okay, now I'm up on speed, Mike. Thank
and
you for reminding me
yeah,
what the flu is.
and people are stepping out of fear energy. I don't get no harassment anymore on buses and trains.
Wow, good on
Um,
you, mate. Isn't
so
that great?
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Well,
it's the frequency is rising. I honestly
yeah.
can say that whatever plan they have doesn't work because as our frequency rises, they have to keep changing to try and meet that
Well,
frequency. Otherwise, it
and
doesn't have support.
yeah. Okay, well, let's go into the statistics that I was just sharing with you offline. Okay, I just want to share the national security, the national. So this is from the Office of National Security. Start
Statistics.
again. I was going to say security then. All right, so it's the Office of National Statistics, which is the ONS in the US, in the UK,
Hmm.
right, United Kingdom. Now, this is for 1 week ending October 21. They're now reporting that for those 7 days, there is 1,714 more deaths than the last 5-year average. Now, in that last 5 years of average, you've got to remember all those excessive deaths for COVID.
Mm.
So that's now put into the average. So this is 1,714 more than that average in only 7 days. So they're trying to say that some of those were COVID, but they're also saying now that some of them are the excessive deaths from people that's collateral damage from people who could not go and see a doctor during lockdowns.
Right.
So they got a disease like 2 years ago, and because it hasn't been seen by a doctor, it's gotten worse and now they've died from it. That's what they're trying to blame this on. So, but mate, I'm pretty sure that 1,714 in 7 days, that is not people who couldn't go to a doctor.
Yeah.
Because as you know and as I know, every hospital was open,
Yeah.
right? Every hospital was open. Every doctor's surgery was still operational, and they were still doing outpatient, like testing, scans, x-rays, because I know, because I had scans during those times. So if I could get scans done and my daughter could have x-rays done, I'm sure other people who had like really severe health problems could have gone to hospital.
Right.
So I call BS on all those statistics of saying that it's collateral damage. That is BS.
Yeah.
And the thing that I'm getting from my lady, which I'm sure you're getting also from Jean, and from everybody else that's got their ladies or men, that help them, my guide is telling me they know, and the worst part is they know that we know that they know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, so they know what's causing all this excessive
Of course
death.
they do. Yeah.
And now we know, and they are struggling, Mike.
Yeah.
They have to change their total approach to how they go forward now.
Yeah.
We're getting so many ads on TV now for AIDS testing and shingles and how to give CPR. Like, we've got ads now teaching CPR on TV. They're not saying go and get trained by a first aid trainer. They're now showing people 30 repetitions and 2 breaths, And I think, wow, you guys really know that people are having heart attacks more than the 5-year average,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there we are. The my view of it is, and it's all anecdotal. Of course it is. There's no real evidence, scientific evidence, if you need scientific evidence. But when you work in the field that we work in, and you work with energy and everything else, and you do have this insight, remember, it's an insight. It's not the oracle. We get insight, and it puts your mind at ease, knowing that whatever gets thrown at you, now we are entering a period of light. And
Oh yeah.
and so
Hallelujah for
yeah,
that.
yeah. And I would encourage everyone to go about their life with joy, with lightness, actually, and just do something today, no matter how small. It can be pay it forward.
Yes,
Just
that's right.
buy a coffee, and you put a sticker on the window, and someone who's broke or down and out can get a free coffee. Anything like this raises the vibration
Well,
incredibly.
can I just tell you what I did for Halloween?
Yeah.
Sure enough, I had a bowl of candy here and all the chocolates and stuff for people that came to the door.
Yeah.
But I said to Tashi, let's roll some up, and we took it down to our disabled boys that we talked to down the street. Well, they're not boys, they're like 60, 70-year-old men.
Right.
But there's two of them, they live just down the street from us, about 10 houses down the street. And I said, let's take them down some chocolate. So we went down, and the carer came to the door, and he said, oh, no, we don't give out candy. I said, darling, we're not here to ask for chocolate.
Yeah.
We're here to give you chocolate. And he was like, huh? It was like he had sparks coming out of his head. And I thought, he really is so conditioned by society that he's expected to give things to strangers on this night. Now, we've got to remember what I just said. Expectations.
Yeah.
It's an expectation where we feel that it's right to give stuff to other people.
Yeah.
But I did a video on this on my channel the other day, and I said, how often do we flip that side over where we don't go around knocking on people's doors and say, give me candy, I want, I deserve this.
Yeah.
How about people going door to door and just saying, trick or treat for you?
Yeah.
Instead of, can I get some chocolate?
Yeah.
You know, how
Well, I'll tell you,
perfect opportunity to switch that switch on.
before we begin, here is something. What about this for an idea? On your birthday, give your mother and father a present,
Yeah.
thanking them for bringing you into the world. It doesn't matter
That's
if they're
right.
in spirit. You can give them a present mentally or dropping something off where they've been laid to rest. I think actually the Jehovah's Witnesses do that. I'm not sure, but I think it's a great idea. Rather than getting a gift from your parents, give them because they gave you the gift of life.
That's
Not a
right.
bad idea.
You know, all you got to do is just flip it around.
Yeah.
You know, look how many kids grow up expecting presents at Christmas Day.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter has never expected anything on Christmas Day, and in fact, I usually give her a present the week before, the lead up. So every day for the last week, she'll open a present for the last couple of days before Christmas.
Yeah.
So on Christmas Day is when we think about other people.
Yeah.
So, you know, it doesn't take much to do it that way.
No.
You know?
No.
Because it takes those expectations out of the equation.
We kind of buy each other presents throughout the year, and at Christmas we give each other a sort of token gift for to be part of the season. But we're more so my wife than me. She's always giving generously.
Oh, speaking of Elizabeth, how is she, darling? Is she getting back on track?
Well, she's moving.
That's always a good sign.
She's moving and eating. So, yeah, she's going to be back to work on Saturday. So.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So, and, you know, she had this bronchitis, and she healed herself all through naturopathic means.
Yes.
And it's worked true. I've been doing the old soup and some other concoctions, and she'll be as right as rain. And she said she is really sweating out a lot of toxins now, which
that's
are
good.
Deep rooted.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you know, it's I can't see the temperature because now it's gone to the stock exchange. Funny how my computer just decides to do that.
Yeah.
But it's not exactly cool here, you know. Just to put it into comparison, my friend up north a few days ago, it was 47 Celsius up there.
Wow.
That's 116 Fahrenheit for anyone in America. It was 47 Celsius
Right.
at Cairns the other day. So we've had a couple of really hot days, but I'm still sitting here drinking my concoction of turmeric, ginger, honey, etc. in my little. I've got my little owl cup tonight.
Yeah.
So
Well, Elizabeth,
so I'm still sweating that out.
I made a little concoction from her that I got from the Medical Mediums website. So
yeah.
anyway, we better get on with the show.
We should get on with the show.
So
where are we going
we're
over
going
to
to
first?
Penhurst Asylum and some other goings on outside of there. So yeah, I mean, of course, there's going to be all kinds of going on with that energy. Let's have a look anyway, and we'll get back and see what everyone thinks.
Yes, it's rather strange. Posted to Reddit by user KeyRecord8141, the video shows a PlayStation and other various gaming equipment. However, as the camera rolls, pay particular attention to the headphones. As you can see, they suddenly jerk forward, almost falling off the shelf. No one appears to be touching them, and their movement seems to suggest that they're actually being pushed from behind rather than pulled forwards by the cord. According to paranormal lore, it takes a tremendous amount of strength for a spirit to move a physical object. Frequently referred to as poltergeists, these entities are thought by some to be attempting to get attention from the living. As is usual with footage of this nature, some viewers believe it could be fake. They cite the unnatural camera angle as evidence that the entire thing is set up. We'll let you guys be the judge on this one. What do you think? Poltergeist or a possible prank? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. This photo, uploaded to Reddit by user ToothyGrin19135, was taken at the allegedly haunted Penhurst Asylum in Spring City, Pennsylvania. When in operation, the facility was known for its brutal conditions and harsh treatment of its patients. It doesn't seem surprising then that many people who have visited the asylum have had eerie experiences. This image was captured in the Mayflower building. In it, we see a young man sitting in an old chair with a mysterious black shape just above his head. It's unclear what the shape is exactly, however, it's been suggested that it resembles a ghostly figure in a dark cloak. Nowadays, part of the facility operates as a haunted house attraction, and after seeing this post, another Redditor who once worked there as a scare actor shared some of their own experiences. According to them, the staff members would often see shadowy figures moving in the windows of the upper levels, in areas that were badly run down and had no floors. They also claim to have personally witnessed a wheelchair moving all on its own. The former employee went on to note that in one particular area of the asylum, the security staff would only work for 15 minutes at a time, because an intense presence in the area would allegedly start giving them panic attacks. So could this photo perhaps show the spirit of a former patient at the Penhurst Asylum? Take another look and tell us what you think.
So, where do you want to begin, Linda?
Oh, I don't know, Mike. You decide. Which one do you want to go with first?
Well, let's do the headphones one.
Yeah, let's go and have a look at the headphone.
I mean, looking at the way it came out, it certainly didn't feel as though the cord was pulled.
That's the first thing I looked at, the cord, to see if it's being pulled.
There doesn't appear, from what we see, to be anyone at the back. The only thing I could suggest, if it's not a paranormal experience, is that it's a mouse that's in there and has pushed its way, the headphones forward. Other than that,
Could be.
it's either somebody having a laugh or it is a paranormal experience. With that information, I don't think we can really determine. But what do you think?
Well, the first thing I was thinking of, here we have another footage where it's perfectly in the middle what we're looking at.
Yeah.
But then I thought about it and I thought, no, he's got that camera shooting down where he would be sitting while he's using his own computer.
Yeah.
So it's filming him with what he's doing.
Yeah.
And that cupboard thing, the drawer where the headphones is, that's just sitting there, so it wasn't a shot of that camera. So I'm going to debunk that and say that's actually normal, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't set up to just film the headsets.
Yeah.
But then where the cupboard is, you can't really see behind it. So there could be something in there, you know, animal, a cat or something. You know, my cat, I'm sure you know with your cats, mate,
Cool.
they get themselves into any little crevice over the toe,
Yeah.
you know. If he's got a little dog, they do it too, mouse, mice, you know. Any other pets or anything else crawling around his house at night time, it could have pushed it.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know, but at least we both agree that it wasn't pulled by the cord.
Yeah.
Because the cord doesn't move. It's actually the headset is moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, it would have been nice if a little mouse just stuck its head out so you can see its little eyes in the night time. You go, whoa!
Yeah.
Because at night time your eyes really go like big white saucers.
Yeah.
You know, that would have been cool, but no. You know, it could have been further down in the footage because it wasn't the beginning and the ending of the footage. So it could be just the first bit before the cat or whatever it is came out.
Yeah.
He said, oh, look what I caught, you know.
Yeah.
So you don't know, Mike.
No.
But, you know, what I see, though, what I base it on, I would say that there is something definitely there worth investigating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether it's the cat.
Yeah. I mean, I think with all these paranormal experiences where you see spirit or you think you see spirit, you know, what happened to me the other day behind me there when this blind is up and I'm sitting here with a computer, if I'm sort of at the side and I look at my screen, I see the reflection on the mirror, but I actually see my reflection on the glass panel from looking in, and you go like that and you think it's spirit or someone outside. It isn't. It's just a reflection. And I think we have to be careful with this, and that's why I think we got to look at the most rational explanation first.
Yes.
Having said that, yesterday, Linda, we had so much high energy because from 2 o'clock right the way through till 9:30, we was table tipping 2 sessions and a healing session.
Yes.
So it was buzzing yesterday, the room. So you will get little experiences when you do that, but carry on.
All right. You just said a word that I do want to clarify with people because I'm in a lot of paranormal groups and there's a lot of people out there who just don't know the difference between a spirit, an entity, and a ghost. A lot of people in the paranormal groups that I'm in, you know, it's not ignorance here. It's just because they're just not educated, right? So I try and educate them. I say, look, I'm Dr. Linda Kramer. I'm a parapsychologist, and that sort of like gets their attention. And they say, oh, I've got doors moving. I've got things flying around the kitchen. I think it's a spirit. And I actually come on and I say, well, you've got to realise that there is a difference between a spirit and a ghost. A spirit is one that goes home to heaven and they pop in, which is what you were just talking about with your table tipping and other things that you do. And that's why they can pop in and you could see them standing behind you, right? So you're on the right track there, mate. But a ghost is someone who's stuck here. They're earthbound. They are the ones who generally move things around, open doors, move headphones like we just saw, and all the other paranormal stuff that goes on are generally ghosts because spirits are a different frequency of energy where they can still move air because they can blow on us, a spirit from heaven. They can still give us that paranoia that they're sitting next to us to give us messages, etc. But they generally don't move stuff around in our houses.
No.
Okay? So just a little bit of education there. If you do want my book, it is on Lulu, Ghosts Explained. It's on Lulu now.
Do you have it handy with you?
No, I've only got it in PDF form, darling, because it had cost too much. So I say to people, if you want a hard copy, buy the PDF version because it's only about $20-something, and then just go up to your local shop and print it for yourself, and you'll save about $20 to $30 for doing it that way. You know, because it's too much. Like my book, my near-death experience, you know, that's $65 plus postage. You know, and I hardly make anything on that. No. You know, because it's all the printing that, and you know what that's why it makes it $65. You know, Yeah, so I don't want to overcharge people. You know, it's better to just buy it cheaply and then just go print your own.
Yeah.
But it is on Hulu. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've got 2 there, and I've got Psychics Exposed. I'm working on that. So in my ghost book, I go into the psychology of why they stay here. But in my psychic book, I'm using all my scientific formulas and theories to justify why we get psychic abilities.
Right.
You know, so I go into I touch on things like string theory, quantum mechanics, bilocation, interdimensional consciousness and all that. I go into all those theories about why we get psychic abilities. So yeah, it's going to be an educational book on top of saying, you know, what are all the psychic abilities, how do we get them, and all the rest of it. Yeah. Anyway, so I didn't want to plug me, but I just did anyway.
That's okay.
Oops. Okay. All right. So the guy in the red shirt, let's just get to him. He is a spirit.
Yeah.
So no, we said they called him a spirit, but I don't think it's a spirit. I think that's a ghost.
Yeah.
Because it's an entity. I've seen a lot of black entities like that in a lot of different locations.
Yeah.
You know, I've even been I was staying at a friend's place one night, and her cat Smudge was sitting next to me on the bed, and Smudge just jumped up and he was looking at the door of the bedroom. So I looked over because the cat scared me, and sure enough, this black thing was in the doorway, and it came across, and I looked at the cat, and the cat's watching it as well. So that was a really good one that night with this black thing that came through, and then it just went straight through the wall.
Yeah.
But the cat saw it.
Yeah.
So that was absolutely awesome because I don't generally have a cat right on me when I sleep because I'm so allergic to them. But that thing in that photo with the guy with the red shirt, that's actually a ghost.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a way of them manifesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. So I believe it. I believe that's a part because I've seen that so many times with the black shadow. Yeah.
Do you think, Linda, that black entity there was shadowing over him, or was that just part of the lighting over his hair? Because that darkness seemed to be going over him.
Okay, so when we've only got one focal point being our camera, it's hard to establish distance. You know, that's why we have 2 eyes, so it comes in so we estimate distance from objects, okay? So what I looked at is on that photo, when I see it when I'm looking at the screen, on the left side, there is someone standing there with a long white sleeve shirt on.
Right.
So I was looking at the distance from where the guy's sitting in the chair to where because the guy with the white shirt was behind him. Okay?
Yeah.
He was behind him, and this black thing appeared to me to be like behind him, coming up over the back of him.
Yeah.
So unless he was like in a really weird Halloween costume or something, I still like it.
Yeah.
I still like it.
And what about that for a job? A scare actor? Hey, I mean, all joking aside, if this guy does or woman does this continually, they will find they got problems in their life later on, working in this environment, working at a low frequency. I'd be very, very careful about this.
So I say it like this, Mike. It's like practice. The more you do something, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
The more you start talking about being a psychic, the more you say, oh, yeah, I want these abilities, the more chance than you have of actually getting them because we are manifesting what we think about.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I certainly would never, you know, that's one reason why I don't ever think about voodoo dolls or Ouija boards or that sort of stuff because I don't want to manifest that energy, that frequency in my own life.
No.
You know, so I think about singing bowls. I think about my tarot cards that I've cleansed and they're good cards. I think about my pendulum and my crystals in my house that I use. So it creates that positive energy in my life.
Yeah.
You know?
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to our second story here. We got 2 very short kids giving their past life recall stories. One of them particularly attracted my attention, but let's run it and see what we all think about it. Here we go.
Very dramatic, frightening nightmares. Honestly, I started to think, could he have been in the World Trade Center? But there was a huge part of me that said, wait a minute, that can't be. It can't be.
We didn't show him anything. There's no way he could have known about it. It was before school. It was before preschool.
No one in my family knows anyone involved in the World Trade Center, and he's never been to New York. I noted it, but I never thought anything of it. I noted it as an oddism. I just thought he had a vivid imagination. A little bit later, he became obsessed with planes.
At first, Cade was totally petrified by the airplanes, like they were monsters. He wasn't scared of them being in the air. It's more like he was scared of where they were going.
It was obsessive. Cade wasn't just into planes, he was obsessed with planes.
Driving through downtown was hard for him. He wouldn't get out of the car and walk around. And he would ask if planes flew over downtown.
Cade is a 7-year-old now, and to this day, Cade around tall buildings is frantic.
It feels creepy. I just don't like to look up. I would not like to go in that tall building. No.
He doesn't want to be around them. He doesn't want to come close to them.
That big shiny one looks just like the Twin Towers. It brings back a lot of memories, but I'm not going in it, okay?
When Claire was around 8, we decided to take a trip to Texas to visit my sister. After I bought the tickets, she decided that she didn't want to get on that plane, and she did not want to go. It was a really emotional time for me. Her fear of flying was so intense, she was afraid to fly with me to my sister's house in Houston. She started talking to me about the plane crashed through the side of the building.
I remember her telling me that Claire felt pretty adamant that she was in a building when a plane crashed.
She continued telling me that she saw a portion of that plane coming through the wall.
Could have been something she had seen because every year they replay something from September 11th.
I remembered back to when I was pregnant with Claire and the whole 9/11 incident, and I thought to myself, ooh, I wonder if she's remembering being a part of the whole 9/11 tragedy. For about 2 weeks, she continued telling me that she worked in an office in New York City, and I started writing everything she told me down. She was talking with emotion and like it was happening, it was very real to her. Claire described her hair as being red and wavy. She even remembered that she would often put it up in a bun. The way she described the outfit that she was wearing, it was sort of like a 1950s type of style, and I really restricted what they watched on TV. And so where would she have seen 1950s clothes to even describe them? She started talking to me about a fire within the office, people frantic, but then she didn't remember what happened next. It's almost as if she didn't want to remember. I had her start talking to me about the building itself, and I fully expected her to describe 2 buildings. I asked her, well, which building were you in? She told me it was the Empire State Building. I had never heard of a plane crashing into a building in New York City except for 9/11. I took my notes and walked downstairs to see what I could find out on the computer. But I just wanted to have verification or proof that something like that actually occurred. I was shocked to find that there actually was an airplane that hit into the Empire State Building. How would an 8-year-old telling me this?
Yeah, and the Empire State Building didn't collapse. What do you know?
Well, let's just go there with that one first, Mike. funny thing, synchronicities. Last week, I'd only just researched one of the stories a few days before I found out about it, right? I got your files Monday, and it would have been Sunday when I was uploading my tarot that I was looking at something and they were talking about the plane that crashed into the Empire State Building. So I already knew this when I saw this footage that you sent me.
Right.
So I've gone back in and had a look at it just to verify. It was only a little plane, like a those two-seater biplanes that they have, whatever they're called. There was only like 3 people on the plane.
Right.
So it was just one of those. It wasn't a big jet,
No.
right? Like what apparently hit 9/11, right? So, oops, allegedly. So it was just one of those little biplane things, and it's gone into the side of the Empire State Building because at that time, in 1945, it was actually June 28th, 1945, that it hit the building,
Right.
and 14 people got killed that day. So there was the 3 on the plane plus 11 inside the offices that were killed. Within 3 weeks, they had all the damage repaired, by the way,
Right.
because it wasn't really that much damage
No.
because it was just a really tiny little plane, like a crop duster type thing.
Yeah.
They used crop duster. So, yeah, I've seen the photos of it. They are out there. If you just put in Empire State Building plane crash, you can go find it. So you can see the photos of the plane in the side of the building. But the biggest thing is you can actually see the plane sticking out of the building.
Yeah.
Even if it was just a little crop duster,
Yeah.
you can see the plane.
Yeah.
Anyway, off that, because I don't want to go into conspiracies at this point of the day because, hello, you've got to leave exactly on time tonight.
Yeah.
So, but that little girl, for her to know all those details,
Yeah.
that's weird because I thought I was pretty good with plane crashes and stuff. You know, my dad was Air Force. You know, I've flown a lot in my time, so I do like knowing a lot about aircraft. But I didn't even know that one. So how could a little kid know about it?
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
Then we look at the boy with the Twin Towers. Was it the Twin Towers that he was looking at? Unless they specifically say, I was in the Western Building, or they give the address, or they, you know, I want some sort of definitive proof that that was the building.
Yeah.
You know? Now, there are a lot of stories that there's planes that went into those buildings. There's a lot of stories going around that they were rockets. There's a lot of reports going around they were bombs. Who the hell knows the truth of what happened?
Right.
You know? But ultimately what we do know is that people did die that day. So there is a good chance that they could reincarnate into young kids who tell their stories, right?
Yeah.
That I think that is something that we can all agree on there. But there was some things in there that kid was saying, like the plane coming through the side of the wall.
Yeah.
Was there really a plane? Because, you know, I've seen footage where it's all CGI'd because it was not really a plane. And it's a military plane, you know, no windows, because there was even witnesses saying there was no windows on that plane, you know. So there are a lot of conspiracies out there, but I just want to hear one of these kids saying it was June the 28th in 1945.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think
I was
there is.
in my office in the Empire State Building, and a plane came through the window.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I want to hear one of these kids say.
Yeah.
So then we can turn around to every skeptic on the planet and say, how could that kid absolutely know that information when there was no way of knowing it?
Yeah.
You know, too many details. I want the kid to come out with, like that kid on the plane who knew how to fly the plane.
Yeah. That was
that was so
where he was
good,
shot
mate.
down by the Japanese. Yeah.
And he knew all the buttons inside that cockpit, what they all were for.
Yeah.
How could a kid know all that when he's never been on a plane?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the other definitive story was the boy that reincarnated to a boy, and he knew that he was murdered, and he had
he took him to the spot.
Yeah. And he told who murdered him, and he on his body he had the wound that when they dug up the old body.
Yeah, the axe mark or whatever
Yeah.
it was where he got killed. Yeah,
And they actually arrested this man some 20 or 30 years on. And that's another thing, actually, Linda. When I was growing up learning all about this spiritualism, reincarnation didn't happen so quick like it happens now. Sometimes people was 100, 150, 200 years before they reincarnated. But I think as the planetary vibration is speeding up and our evolution is speeding up, I think reincarnation is happening quicker, you know.
Okay, I'm going to agree but not agree with what you just said. What I believe is that now we live in an age of technology, that now people are telling their stories more frequently. And 20, 50 years ago, we only had people from history who everybody knew.
Yeah.
But now with social media, you know, everybody knows each other.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody now because of you know, the influencers and stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, we look back at history and we look at famous people and you say, oh, yeah, I was them. You know, some of the ones that come straight to my head, Princess Diana, Elvis Presley, one of the Beatles. I was one of the Beatles. I learned how to play the guitar, you know, and you think, oh, yeah, there is a couple of Beatles that have died now, you know. So back in history, it was hard to say anyway. I was this person because you couldn't verify the information, and people had no platform in order to tell these stories. Well, like now we've got YouTube, we've got Facebook, Twitter, and we've even got books out there now where you can just write a book and put it on Lulu. You know, hello, because we've both done that one, right? You know, 10 years ago, you look at Stephen King, the effort of having to type the words, then he had to send it to his publisher, then he had to send it to the editor who had to type it all up again because it wasn't on computers, you know, so it was a 6-month process even before you got it approved, and then they had to print it in mass because there was no printing on demand.
No.
You know, so we are very fortunate now with the technology that we have. So I reckon that's why reincarnation in the past was not as prominent as it is now, you know, because people were just called psychos, you know. Look at me as a kid, you know, I was in the 70s, oh my God, you know, some of the bloody names I got called, you know, it's horrendous. You know, these days they wouldn't be able to get away with it, what we got lead with in my youth, you know. But anyway, it's all good. Well, Dale, we better keep going because we've still got some videos to watch.
We're going to have a look at this healing angel. We did show this one over a year ago, but I think it's worth a look again. And by the way, we're coming up to Thanksgiving in the States, and we've got to play our traditional Thanksgiving angel story. So I'll just check when Thanksgiving is, and we'll get it onto the nearest show on Thanksgiving. But in the meantime, here is our story of a healing angel. Here we go.
Tell me about the time you had uterine cancer.
Yes.
And the healing angel.
Yes, I was diagnosed. They told me I was only 28 years old. They told me I would have to have a hysterectomy. I wanted to marry. I wanted to have children. And I heard that Francis McNutt was in town. And so my friend and I went to a little home prayer group at night where he was praying. And I was seated in a chair, and he had his hand on my head praying for God to heal me. And there was only 5 or 6 of us there. And I was sitting in the chair, and my head kept going back on the back of the chair. And I felt like he was pressing too hard on my head. So I opened my eyes to ask him to not press so hard. And he had moved. He was standing across the room with his arms held up, praying. And there was no one with a hand on my head. And so I knew it was an angel. And I literally couldn't get out of the chair for a long time. I was held into the chair while God's healing power just went through my body. And the next day I went to the surgeon that was going to do the surgery over in Tampa. And he examined me and he said, "You've been totally and completely healed. There's no cancer."
That is neat. That doesn't even
That's a
take
great
faith
story.
on your part. I like that. I mean,
I know.
I pray the healing angels show up sometime while we are speaking. But
Well, what was so wonderful to me about that story is we did marry later, and we have 2 amazingly wonderful children.
very briefly, tell me about that sign you saw of the 3 angels, so you knew you were supposed to marry Francis.
Well, we were at a retreat center because, you know, we both needed to hear it was God's will. And we were praying in a room together, and 3 angels came into the room while we were praying. And one of them leaned over next to him and said something to him. And I just knew that he had heard.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we finished praying, I said, "Did you hear?" I didn't tell him about the angels. I said, "Did you hear?" He said, "No, not yet." And he went up to the chapel and got on his face before God. And he said, "I'm not going to move until I know what I'm supposed to do." And then he heard it, that he was meant to marry and to take me as his wife.
Tell me about that conference you were at, and literally the room changed.
That was an extraordinary one. I actually have that in writing from several people. We were in a conference. This has happened many times all around the world. We were in a conference and the whole back of the room disappeared. We were having a healing service.
But you were not the only one that saw this.
Oh, no. At least 6 or 7 or 8 people turned in, wrote it down that they had seen this. And Jesus, a golden staircase came in. It's like the room just vanished in this golden staircase. And Jesus came into the room, followed by just hundreds of angels. And Jesus went over to every person that was sick and laid his hands on them. And when he walked away, an angel would come and take his place and stay with that person. And we had so many healings.
That's what I was going to ask you. It's wonderful the angels prayed, but what is the fruit? That's what people are asking.
Tremendous healing. We had cancer, heart disease, diabetes. Several people got out of wheelchairs. It was an extraordinary healing service that night.
Yeah, it's interesting. The healing question here. A friend of mine a few weeks ago just come back from a week Joe Dispenza conference in London. And at the end of the conference, they did a healing. And so there was something like 3,000 people there. And many people got healed, and one person did get off his wheelchair.
Cool.
And it's incredible what actually can be done when you're in that mode of really desiring to be healed. Because as Greg Braden says, you know, a miracle is only a miracle until you understand the technology behind a miracle. And so what we saw here on this video was more of a religious aspect of it, because they were more religious people than spiritual people.
Yes.
But the end result is the same.
That's right. Yes. So, which brings me to the point. You know, you look at my book. Let me just grab my book here, because on the front cover, I've got the big 3 that I call them, these 3 beings.
Yeah.
She was talking about the 3 angels. So it's amazing how many people see 3.
Yeah, which is the Trinity anyway.
That's right. Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. Hello. You know, the right-hand man and the left-hand man, right?
Yeah.
So then she, one thing that irked me with this one, Mike, when that staircase opened up, and how amazing would it feel and to be seeing that, right? I can imagine what it was like. But it irks me, how did they know it was Jesus? As he was coming down the staircase, did he say, "I am Jesus and I am here to heal"?
Yeah.
Or is it just that they are assuming that's who it was?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of NDEs out there who do hear a male figure wearing the right robe saying, I am Jesus. But a lot of times people assume it to be,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
And that's where...
I think some of it is assumption, and some of it is basically what we'd call claircognizance, simply knowing. And there is a difference.
Yeah, of course there's a
I
big
think
difference.
you've got more chance of knowing that it is Christ, if you like, in an environment like Joe Dispenza's where it's neutral. Here in this environment, it's very religion orientated, so it is going to put your thoughts in that direction. So
yes. Wow.
Well,
yeah, well, we'd better get on to our atheists.
The last one.
Well, we're talking about, was it Jesus, our last video, because we're only,
the second part of our atheists NDE story, and it's really inspiring because it does give hope. In the previous one, he spoke about, well, he thought if this is it, he thought when I go, the lights go off and then that's it, there's nothing else.
Yeah.
Which actually isn't so bad, is it, if that's the way it goes, rather than just being around in darkness all the time. But a very, very, turns out to be such an endearing man, and you can see that his upbringing has caused him a lot of pain, and he hasn't lived the potential of his life up until the point of that NDE. So let's have a look at him and see what you have to say.
I could see there was a lot of stress in her face. And I looked at myself and I said, that's me and I'm dead. But if that's me, then who am I? Those are the first thoughts that came to me, incredibly enough. And then I just heard this voice right next to me say, think of your body as a car. And that car has like 5 million miles on it, and there's nothing we could do to fix it anymore. So, you have to now say goodbye to your body. And I thought, wow, I just kind of said it was okay to die. Now I'm standing here because I feel like I'm standing there, right? I don't know what I look like. I don't know what form I'm in, but I know I'm in some form of existence. And I look at myself and something very strange happened. For the first time in my life, I loved and appreciated who I was and who I've been. And I was so grateful for that body, that vessel. And then the voice said to me, okay, now it's time for us to move on. And we started walking. Now, I never saw this presence, so I don't know what it was. It felt feminine. And then I could see this huge hole in the ground, like a big black hole, and we're kind of walking right into it, and we walk right into it, and then I feel like I'm falling. And it was a bit of a painful experience because I feel like something was being ripped off of me. And it felt like I was falling forever. And when I finally hit what I would call ground, it kind of ended for a second, and then she kind of said, you got to keep going. And there was another one. And I went into that hole, and I fell, and I kept falling, and I felt this thing just ripping things off of me. When I hit the bottom, the first thing I saw was this mass of color. And the color was just moving, and it had so much life in it that I became instantly amazed. My expectation when I died was that I would encounter nothing and become nothing. Now I'm beginning to see things that were mind-boggling in the sense that this color was alive. It was living, and it was moving, and it was talking to me, and it was talking to me like millions of voices. So it sounded like chatter, like but somehow there was some kind of comprehension happening at a level that even there I couldn't really understand. And then they just opened up, and I saw this amazing forest. Now, I grew up in New York City, so that's, to me, quite striking because I saw these mountains and I could see the shadow that the clouds make on the mountains, and they were so dark and contrasty. And I could see these wild herds of animals just running. And I found that I was kind of hovering. I saw this amazing vista, and I'm looking up and I'm seeing that mountain, and I'm realizing that I'm flying. So I said, oh my gosh, I'm flying. And I heard this voice just say to me, that's normal here. And then I thought about my children, and this was the only aspect of when I was transitioning that was a bit painful to me. So I said, what's going to happen to my kids? And that voice said to me, don't worry, you could see them from here. And when I heard that, that was like the most amazing thing that I have ever heard. And I said, oh, wow, this is amazing. So it took all my fears away. And then I just started flying, and I started moving over this landscape and looking down and feeling, of course, an amazing sense of peace and calm and tranquility. Amazing cove, and I see a beach, and I see a man in the water. He's like knee deep in the water. And he's got 6 children holding onto his right hand in a string, right, in a line, and 1 child on his left hand. And I said, wow, that's pretty amazing. Let me go down and see what that's all about. So I moved down, and maybe I'm about 10 feet, 15 feet away, and he turns around. That was my father. It was amazing to see him, but what was more amazing was that me and my father had a very, very hard relationship. We used to bump heads tremendously, and he used to drink, and he was quite abusive. And when you have your experience of dying, you get this interconnectivity. You feel like you're connected to everything. So that sense of oneness is really profound. When you come back into your physical body again, you feel that sense of separation. So there's something about being in body that makes us feel like we're independent of the rest of the world. It's really soothing, eye-opening, and it's very calming. It's a calming feeling that it permeates through you to know that everything is as it should be, in a sense, right? Everything's working towards a goal, and that goal is well beyond what we may ever know, but it's still doing it.
So there we are. Wrong button. So
a little bit early.
yeah, there you are. A fraudulent slip. But yeah, it's an interesting NDE. And what I want to say is, before we talk about it, is if you have a paranormal experience, if it doesn't matter, an NDE, a deathbed vision, you've been saved by an angel, a time slip, or you've seen ghosts in your house, we'd love to hear your story. I can either read out your story or just do what this guy did, just plonk yourself in front of the camera and tell your story. About 6-7 minutes, just the nuts and the bolts of it all is all that we require. And we'd really love to hear your story.
Oh, you know, as much as I love debunking stuff and saying that things are fake when they are truly fake, I love it when I get the real stories.
Yeah.
I love reading stories where they describe things that I've personally experienced, but in their own ways.
Yeah.
And I think, wow, what a good take that was.
Yeah.
You know, so instead of just saying a white room, someone might describe it as an unendless space of white.
Yeah.
So it's just different description, but it still means the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I love reading, because it makes me feel justified with the work I do, you know, because it keeps reinforcing that what I saw was real.
Yeah.
But it just gives me that hope that there is somewhere that is like a common place where we do go after we die.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
as the more that people share what they've seen, then there's a good chance that that's where we go. It's like the field of flowers.
Yeah.
You know, I love hearing people explaining what the field of flowers looks like because it's almost like there's an X on the ground and that's the landing point. Yeah, we're coming into heaven.
Yeah.
Hello, we're here. We're all landing on this one spot in heaven and this field of flowers on the side of a hill. But a couple of things he said in there. The second I said that, I thought that, he said. That's how he said it. So he corrected himself. So that's what I call our intentions.
Yeah.
So the second I said those words, hang on, I thought those words. Because that's so the way he described it. I loved him saying that. And the colour was, I don't know if we just heard it in then because I got the long version, but he was talking about how the colour was alive and talking to me.
Right.
I explained that in my book too, where the colours themselves were alive.
Yeah.
They're their own energetic being of consciousness. So I love, and the way that he said interconnectivity, bingo.
Yeah.
So, I love it when we've got these people that just simply, the colour was alive. How beautiful is that, just saying it like that?
Yeah.
And
here's a guy that, like Aben Alexander, didn't believe. And so his account, this guy here, is a very neutral, very grounded, very matter-of-fact an account of what actually happened. And it's heartwarming to see, for me, to see this, hardened New Yorker atheist, where in the previous part one of this, he talks about, you weren't allowed to cry. It wasn't the man thing to do to cry. You had to step up and face it. So he was never allowed to express any emotion. And of course, he says he had an abusive father. And for the first time in his life, Jesus, it took him to die before he could experience feeling.
That's right.
Real feeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is where we go, Mike, into a depth of life contracts. Do we sign up to have these experiences? So it is that turning point on our path. But we had to live that first part where we were like nasty types, because I've done some. Well, not that I ever did like any criminal activity or where I was truly nasty.
That's not what I've been told.
You're not supposed to say what we say off air, Mike. That was a joke, guys, okay? I've never been in jail, okay?
You have.
That I remember.
Facebook jail several times.
Anyway. But how do we know that we're not supposed to go through all this crud and then have that definitive turning point on our path when we have that near-death experience, And then we continue that. So it's like that, we go along here, we die, and then now we're going this way on the path, leading somewhere totally different to where we... Like if someone said to me when I was 17, you're going to have a YouTube channel, you're going to be talking to this guy in Europe every week, talking about spiritual and psychic and time slips and all this, I would have thought, how cool is that? But I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
That's what I would have said.
Yeah.
So now I've been put into all these positions or opportunities where I do know about it.
Yeah.
So, and plus the studies that I've done, so now I can answer those questions to other people who haven't had that opportunity of having that game changer, pivotal point of that change of their path of dying, where they can get that knowledge and that information. So it is amazing, and I feel honoured. Every day for me, I'm so humbled. You can tell because my throat is just so sore constantly because I don't shut up ever. I've really just got to. Someone told me, I remember it was when I was working with Australia Post, so that was like when I was 22. Someone said, Linda, you can talk under wet cement. And that line is just so true with me because I just never shut up. So I think I'm just going to have to I don't know, turn off all my electric devices and just say for a week, just I'm not talking. Definitely. Yeah, don't even talk to Tashi for a week. Just use post-it notes.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what will help with the throat, because Jeanne told me this and I'd looked into it. The Pure Tone 528 Hertz. So if you get some headphones like this, tiny ones, a bit of sellotape, one this side, one that side, put 528 Hertz Pure Tone on, and just run it.
Yeah, see, I've got the 528 tuning fork here too.
Yeah.
Didn't even think of it, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's going to be interesting to see if it changes after tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because I've got a visitor due to if they turn up.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I'll keep you in that. Dum, dum, dum. So we'll see what happens tomorrow.
And on that note,
whether this is an energy attack or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all good, but I know that you have to leave the building.
Gotta go.
I need to go to bed. I need to stop talking.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, love yous all from Australia.
Yeah.
Stay safe, stay well, stay in love with everything this week.
And from Europe, good afternoon. And please send me your paranormal experiences, or write me an email. The email address is just there, and see what we can do. So, anyway, see you all next week, guys. Bye-bye.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.